So joining us now is someone who has been integral to helping broker the ceasefire and to negotiations that followed. With me now, Steve Witkoff, the president's assistant and special presidential envoy for Peace Missions. Steve, welcome to Overtime. And I do believe this is your first time on CNBC since you began serving in this administration. So welcome in that capacity as well.
Thank you, Morgan. Thanks for having me. My pleasure to be here.
So let's just start with how this ceasefire came together and perhaps just as importantly now, how you ensure it persists.
Well, as the president said, it's the 12-day war. We achieved our objectives in that period of time, as did Israel. And the president called up the Israelis and called up the Iranians. And we have a ceasefire that did not turn this thing into the endless war. It was incisive, and we achieved everything that we wanted to achieve here. And there's no more need for the conflict to keep on going.
What are the next steps for diplomacy with Iran?
I would say, Morgan, that we're hopeful for a comprehensive peace agreement. We were hopeful when we first started negotiations. It didn't quite work out that way, but today we are hopeful. The signs are there, and we're hopeful for a comprehensive peace agreement.
What are the signs?
Well, we're having conversations with the Iranians. There are multiple interlocutors who are reaching out to us, and I think that they're ready. That's my strong sense. So let's all have some hope that that's what we achieve, because it will be a renaissance for the GCC, for the Iranians as well, for the whole region, and it'll be good for the world.
How much do the Abraham Accords that were established in the president's first term now lay the groundwork? Is that the template, and does that expand?
Well, one of the president's key objectives is that the Abraham Accords be expanded, that more countries come into it, and we are working on that on my team and in coordination with the Secretary of State and the entire State Department. And we think we're going to have some pretty big announcements on countries that are now coming into the Abraham Peace Accords. And we're hoping for normalization across an array of countries that maybe people would have never contemplated would come in. So we're excited for that prospect. That will also be a stabilizer in the Middle East.
The president at the NATO summit today said a couple of times, basically, that this is not about a new nuclear agreement. I think getting to the point that you just made about a comprehensive peace agreement and that being the broader goal here. That being said, the Iranians taking a crack at nuclear enrichment again, is that the red line?
That's for sure the red line, yeah. That's always been the red line. Enrichment is the red line. And beyond enrichment, weaponization is the red line. We can't have weaponization. That's just that will destabilize the entire region. Everyone will then need a bomb, and we just can't have that. This is going to be good for the entire region.
We had that DIA leak that said the U.S. strike delayed the program, Iran's program, by only months, not years. What is the latest battle damage assessment and your response to that leak?
Well, first of all, the IEA thinks the exact opposite of that. The Israelis think the opposite of it. Our CIA thinks the opposite. So it's just preposterous. The Israelis did plenty of damage before we came in, and when we came in, it added it basically created lots of certainty around eradication of their ability to weaponize and to enrich. There are 3 nuclear reactors at play here. 2 are in Natanz, 1 above ground, 1 below ground. Then the Fordo nuclear reactor, which everyone's talking about, that got hit with 12 bunker buster bombs. And then there's Esfahan, where there was a conversion facility, and the Iranians had announced that they were creating another enrichment reactor down below. Every one of those sites was hit by us, either with bunker buster bombs, and in the case of Esfahan, with, I want to say, 30 Tomahawk missiles that were fired from one of our submarines. And it's eviscerated that entire program. The conversion facility alone, you can't begin an enrichment process without having something that process with the gas that begins in the conversion facility, and you can't successfully weaponize without that conversion facility metallicizing the material, molding it into a round ball, and putting it into the weapon, into the actual bomb. So that's been eradicated. And much of the enrichment potential has been eradicated, too. All the different sources by which you might get to a weapon have been eradicated. And now the issue and the conversation with Iran is going to be, how do we rebuild a better civil nuclear program for you that is non-enrichable? Very, very similar to the non-enrichment program that is in the UAE today, and that many, many other countries operate. You don't need enrichment to run a nuclear energy program.
What will that entail? Is that going to mean officials on the ground to permanently monitor and make sure that this is not crossing the line into an enrichment situation, either secretly or potentially openly, as we've seen in recent years?
Absolutely. It will be robust observation, and the Iranians accept that. We've talked about it. So hopefully, if they've got nothing to hide, then they're not going to have any issues with robust observation. The IEA right now under Rafael Grossi has been doing that observation. It may be supplemented by us. But I think what we really want to do is get everybody to understand that this is better for the region. This is better for the economic progress of all the nations in the region, including Iran. So this is a good thing. This is a positive thing for everybody. We just don't need to have conflict in that region anymore.
The president lifted and the administration lifted some of the sanctions on Iran to be able to ship crude oil to China yesterday as well. Why was that necessary? And how does that perhaps create the beginning of a pathway towards this more prosperous Iran that you speak of?
Well, I think it was a signal from the president. You know, he's got this uncanny ability to take the temperature of how people are feeling about certain things. I think, you know, this was a signal to the Chinese that we want to work with you, that we're not interested in hurting your economy. We're interested in working together with you in unison. And hopefully that becomes a signal to the Iranians. So I think it was a great decision, and I'm not sure if it was unexpected or not. But I have come to expect President Trump doing these sorts of things that people look at and say, "Wow, that's a pretty smart, prudent economic move."
We see so much money, so many investments, including by American companies, going into the region more broadly right now. What is the message to some of these business leaders in corporate America as they are looking to make these investments, as you do have countries in the region looking to diversify away from oil right now as they navigate the ceasefire in a region that historically has been very volatile?
It's a very good question, Morgan. I speak often about this topic. I believe that the GCC, particularly when we get this peace agreement, there will be a renaissance there. It will be an upward move in almost all asset classes. And why? Because you will not have to underwrite war risk anymore in that region. Right now, it's very, very difficult to get the type of senior debt, senior credit that we get that you can get when you're doing risk projects in the United States. That senior debt, that senior credit is going to come into that marketplace, the GCC, when there is no war risk to underwrite. Right now, it's been very, very difficult for credit to play in that marketplace. And so once you create that opportunity, it's going to be an upward trajectory for almost all asset classes. And I think you're beginning to see some very, very smart operators positioned for that upside opportunity there.
And since I know you have been critical to negotiations in the Russia-Ukraine war as well, what is the read-through of everything we're seeing play out in Iran in real time to Russia?
Well, first of all, I think that situations like this, where you get a president who implements a battle plan strategy as impeccably as he did. It was impeccable to watch it. It was my privilege to watch the way he oversaw the entire process and the way his entire team worked. When you can come in and out of a conflict, achieve your objectives, not fight the forever war, but do what's necessary at that moment. It was necessary, and we did it. I think that it's uplifting for all of the world. And I think when you see the hopefulness that is now emanating as a result of what's happened here, I think that may well gravitate towards Russia and Ukraine. That's what we're hopeful for. We're hopeful that people look at what happened in Iran and say, you know what, we want a part of that sort of peace process as well. So we are hopeful that, that this will lead to some very, very good things happening in the Russia-Ukraine resolution.